Hello, fellow Mythrunians! Welcome to another weekly live stream. Although lately it's been more sporadic because we didn't do one last week, but we're doing one today, and we'll do one next week. I'm trying to wrap up the release, but tons of stuff to do, so let's go ahead and get started. And without further ado, let's go ahead and do it. Yep, there's the patrons scrolling up. That list may not actually be accurate. I think we've lost some since I've put that together. But basically they get recognition for free for a little while until I get unlazified. Today we're playing with settlements. I don't know if you guys remember, but last time or some previous time, according to YouTube, our streaming speed is excellent, but we've got no viewers. I wonder if that's accurate. Yep, no views. No worries. Anyway, for any of you who are just watching on the YouTubes, you may remember sometime back we had this test app. Oh yeah, I can already tell that the stream is not really excellent quality. Hopefully you guys are actually seeing this. Hey, how's it going, Vizzy Arthur? Welcome to the live stream. I think YouTube's just slow to show me stuff because now I show 2 concurrent viewers. Hope you all had a productive week. I had a productive weekend last weekend. I had a 4-day weekend, but we were chock full of family events for Father's Day and friends of the family. They had 3 birthdays they celebrate all at the same time or something. Family birthday party that we went to, and so there's just all of my free time was spent trying to make stuff work in Mythruna, which I'll get to in a second. But you guys may remember this from before, but this is where I had simulated a town, and then all of the different little NPCs in the town and their daily schedules and whatnot. So what I'm trying to do is formalize more of this that can go right into Mythruna and use it for not only managing towns but also managing the moon gates and things, and so making that part more general. The goal would be in the short term to manage a simple settlement like a bandit camp or something, because one of the things that made all this work is that I had waypoint graphs and things for more easy pathfinding. And in the actual game, the NPCs don't have that because towns aren't fully fleshed out. They're still just random placements of buildings and things. And I'm trying to get a release out in the next week or 2 with whatever we've got done. And so I'm trying to have whatever we've got done be something significant that would be worth releasing. But as far as momentum goes, it behooves me to keep releases coming fairly often, and it's been since November, so 8 months now. That is too long. My goal was to try to produce a release every month, so the last time we were messing with trying to get the day-night cycles set up for the different NPCs, and yeah, so I set up assigning them buildings was kind of tricky. And so I'll show you a little bit about what I did for that. Actually, that's what I should have done first, because that would have loaded a lot faster and been reasonably interesting. Anyway, what we have here, and I'll show you they still mess up a little bit, and that's, I want to talk about that too. Okay, so she's in her house, and so if we tell her, hey, come on, tell her it's daytime, so she's going to go to her job. She's going to figure out which way to go to her job. Once you could see all of the pathfinding happening down, scrolling down, she figured it out. See, this would go a lot faster if the town had a street graph that they could follow. As it is, she kind of just finds her way there. But the path she picks is very strange, and so I need to load this into the prototype and figure out why she comes up here. Like, she doesn't fully go up the ramp, and she actually doesn't even jump up here. I think the so she tries to walk up. I have to push her past the end of the ramp, and then she'll walk up the ramp. But I don't know why she walks up the ramp to just come back down and drop. And the other thing is, yeah, so she gets stuck. Sometimes she'd drop down here and she'd be fine, because this is actually where she wants to be. Anyway, I added the ability to, so I'll have to load this into the playground and mess with why the pathfinding's not working right. But this is going to be like, the rest of my life is going to be some percentage of my time fixing pathfinding bugs, so I'm not worried about that. We can get a lot done without worrying about it. I added to each building now are a set of tags that define what it does, and like the different areas inside the building. So if I do, where am I? It should highlight all of the different things. So this is the yellow box is the actual area of the town that is assigned to this building. The blue box is the trigger. Like, internally the game knows when I've entered or exited a building area. And this green area in here is a sector. And so sectors are something that I've added to buildings. And this red area in here is another sector. It's an interior sector, and this is an exterior sector. And that allows me to find places for the NPCs to go. If I came over to one of these buildings, for example, and did another where am I? So this shows, again, the yellow is the plot, which for these kinds of things, the trigger and the plot are the same mostly. Well, I guess no, it's good. So the trigger is what it knows I'm coming into and out of the thing, and then it's got different sectors for each of the floors. So we've got a red sector here, which when we walk inside we can't see it anymore. And so then we got a sector up here and little sectors to cut out all the different things. So if I ask, basically I can ask a building, give me all of the interior sectors, and then I can pass that to a walk waypoint, or not a walk waypoint, but a walk activity, and it will plot whatever shortest path gets me somewhere where I'm inside one of these, which is kind of interesting because if, like, for example, there was a bridge to the second floor and a door open on the second floor, and that was the quickest way, I would go inside and be on the second floor, kind of thing. So yeah, they're a lot smarter now. They know where their home and their work is. This is her work. So if I send her home, I wonder if she'll find her home. Go home. Yep, so that actually tells, uh-oh. Why are you stuck? Yeah. So again, there's pathfinding bugs. I don't know why she's weirded out like that. She was navigating to and from home and work just fine. Yeah, so there she goes. Yeah, why are you... Yeah, so she failed. Set her back to work. So she's gonna... Yeah, so she gets confused. It's like, the places she's trying to go are not... let's try set night again, see if she can figure out that she needs to jump up. In fact, I'm not even sure she's really walking. It could just be... Nope, she's got some kind of steering. Yeah, so it's not even like showing me what her path is, so something's clearly wrong here. Alright, so I got things to debug, right? So there's always things to debug. But what I wanted to do, so like navigating a town is tough because the buildings are really far apart. And so as a test, just to get things working, and plus, like, ultimately our goal is to get the bad guys. So I thought a bandit camp is a simpler idea. And so I made like these little tent objects, which are kind of cool looking. And so the idea being that somewhere in the woods I could have these settlements that are bandit camps with some number of tents, and then just a daily schedule that these guys follow, where maybe if there's 3 tents, then there's 3 bandits, and at night one of them takes watch and so on, and they take turns taking watch, and during the day they take turns patrolling, where 2 of them patrol and 1 of them stays back, kind of thing. And then there's some just rudimentary settlement, quote-unquote settlement level AI that manages all that and sets their daily schedules. And that'll let me prototype a lot of the stuff without having to worry about town road graphs and all that other thing. So potentially we could get some more interesting character in the world without having to have a whole bunch of other stuff done first, and then build that stuff on that, in subsequent live streams, kind of thing. So that's where I am. Let me show you the building stuff real quick. Alright, so if we go over here to block set Gradle, run blocked. What row? It looks like somebody tried to connect to the server. Ooh. Alright, we'll just kill it. I hadn't connected to the server in a while as far as the shell goes. But somebody apparently connected with a bad connection, and it was going to take it a while. Anyway, I just saw it. I'm going to minimize this so it's not a distraction. Yeah, the public server is always up if anybody wants to join and hang around. I'm not usually on it, but it does. When you join the public server, it does announce it to Discord, so anybody on Discord who sees those announcements can decide they want to join and come in. Anyway, so the building editor was I added this tags thing. I also added this area marker. Eventually I'm going to put like better graphics for this at some point. Eventually there'll be an area marker here. There'll be a anchor tool here, and a I called it mask, but I'm going to call it a cell set tool here, and I'll explain to you what those mean in a second. But let's load up one of the buildings first. A desert one. That's fine. So, actually, let's load one of the more interesting desert buildings. There we go. Yeah, that's a cool looking desert building. So right now I can like give it a bunch of tags, which says, it could be a merchant, it could be a tavern, and it has, it could be a smith, like, oops. Boop, boop, boop. It could be a smithy, because like I figured there could be like a smith down here, because none of this is flammable, particularly flammable. Anyway, the idea then that when I'm building towns with these buildings, I have like some idea of what could go here and figure out what I want to do with it. That's more interesting than just looking at the raw file name and trying to guess. So then we have the areas, which these are called areas here, but they translate to sectors in the game. And so, like, probably it's hard to see, but there's this red wireframe square in there that's showing me where that sector is, and I can edit it. And so then I've got like a bunch of these, sometimes exterior. So here's an exterior sector. Probably I could have made that taller. And then another exterior sector. So then I can have these areas, and the NPCs can navigate to different sections of the building just based on their sectors. If it's downstairs and wants to get upstairs, it can target a particular sector that's above it, that kind of thing. And so this really expands out. Eventually there'll be place markers, which allows me to put a single location on the ground with a particular orientation, or on the walls. And so that would be useful for picking places for different kinds of furniture where they might sit, or different kind of wall-mounted random things that might be in there. In the dungeons we had the sconces on the walls, so those could have all been anchors in those particular models. And then the what it's called a mask layer right now, but I think I'm going to call it cell sets. But the ability to, much like we can with fluids, where I can if I want to, I can place fluid blocks down. Of course, they're not going to behave correctly right now. But instead of just basically being able to mark different blocks for different things. Like one of the common ones that I would like to be able to do is in doorways and things, be able to mark these cells as preserved, so that when we're combining building parts or overlapping things, we know to preserve the doorways, preserve the stairways and things like that. But could also be used for like along here, this is where flowers might grow, or where the owner might have planted plants, different things like that I could mark on the thing. So anyway, this expanded quite a bit, and so like the whole blocks format that's used has this like custom attributes thing that can be built in, and since that's an open source tool, that's part of the open source thing. Tags and these are built into that, but the format itself can have other extensions. So like Mythruna extends this tool to add a bunch of stuff, and it could add its own custom extensions to that too if it needed to. So that's kind of cool, and that freed me up to do a lot of stuff. Anyway, what we're working on today is those settlements. And so, oops, wrong. And so let me maybe use my, whoops, that's the wrong one. Oh, that's the wrong one too. Where'd you go? There you go. Yeah, so we were working on other stuff before. Where am I? Okay, so settlements. So I need to make a let's make bullets, proper bullets. So there's going to be like a settlement type, ES component for what type of settlement, and that'll just, similar to how the AI characters figure out which AI script to run. This would be similar for settlement types, where they'll figure out which settlement factory or class or configuration to use. Settlement tile, which is which tiles is a particular settlement in, because tiles are the 1024 by 1024 meter sections of the world, and a particular settlement can be in more than one if it overlaps that. Like that town that I was just in when running Mythruna actually covers, I think, 4 different tiles. It's right on an intersection, which is one of the reasons it's so laggy when walking around sometimes. Oh, interestingly, I also found a bug in how that. So the when we move from zone to zone, the 32 by 32 meter zones, we activate the AI and deactivate the ones that have fallen out of range, and so on and so forth. But I got to a point one night where I'd been playing for a while, and and one of the AIs walked outside of the current tile, and then just became brain dead. Its brain went away, and no amount of me moving around seemed to fix it. And so I took the agent activation system that is responsible for activating and deactivating agents, and I put that into Google just to see, and it couldn't figure out what that actual bug was, but did find a significant performance bug in there. So I do need to go back and fix that. It's literally a typo level bug that's basically causing something to run every frame that should run only on zone changes. Anyway, so we need this. We need a settlement registry. Turns type into a settlement. Need a settlement system processor. Track active, inactive settlements. And if we can get this done tonight, that'll be pretty cool. So the idea being, and I've already written settlement type and settlement tile, and so we'll spend our time initially here writing settlement system and settlement processor. Basically, that'll keep track of where the player is, and the tiles are those big 1024 by 1024 sections, and I want I want the same level of activation as the the far buildings, so like a 5x5 grid that's centered around the player. And then we'll activate and deactivate settlements, and maybe then we can get to integrating this into at least the prototype. Because I think I did some things wrong in the prototype and I want to refactor them anyway. So let's get busy. Like I did settlement type already, which is an entity, persistent entity component. And so this will basically tell us, where there's a town or a bandit camp or a moon gate or whatever. Because that's the other thing is right now the moon gates, and I've talked about this on another live stream I think, but the moon gates, those spirit hinges, they, at a certain point in the night they activate and they actually modify the blocks, and then at a certain point in the night they deactivate. And this doesn't happen until you've actually been close enough to cause them to be real. But if you've been anywhere around the world, there is a significant hiccup every day at a certain time as it goes and modifies all those blocks, which then modifies the tiles. And it has to do this because we can potentially see the lighting of those from many tiles away. But if I turn those into settlements, then I don't actually have to modify the blocks unless they're close enough to the player to change. Because one of the things about a settlement is when a player gets close enough, that's when the settlement gets activated, and that's when it decides to catch up time. So if you haven't been there in a month, it can fast forward time to be where it should be then. And so similar to the moon gates, if you happen to come near it during the nighttime, it can flip over those blocks. If you come near it during the daytime, it can correct them again if it's flipped them already. So the interface for settlements. So anyway, we'll see how far we get with this. Okay, settlement type, which I already did. So this is blah blah blah, and then settlement tile. So to make a settlement real, it will have to have some settlement tile components pointing to it, so we know when to activate it, and then there'll be one entity ID with the settlement type. So it'll be kind of like a mini to one. There'll be so entity, if you want to think of it this way, settlement. I don't know why today I'm having so much trouble typing settlement. Settlement tile points to ID 123. So you may have more than one of these, and then entity. So ID 1, ID 2. Let's just call it 5, and then so you may have ID 5 that's got the. I'm just trying to come up with a settlement type. So this is the real settlement. These just point to it, kind of thing. And so then our settlement management system will be watching for these, for certain tile IDs. So we know, when a settlement's created or when we come into a new tile. I think I'm going to steal a lot of code from the trigger system because it's already doing some of this. It's certainly doing. So the other thing is, like, normally a game system, all of the updates of that game system are done on the main game loop thread, so it doesn't have to worry about thread contention with resources and things. Whereas the trigger system actually runs all of its stuff on another thread, and it just locksteps with the main thread. So you'll never get more than one update on the background thread, and that allows some more convenient things to happen. Anyway, trigger system. So we'll copy this, and we're going to make a settlement system. I'm just going to put it in here for now. Settlement system. I'm just gonna, wow, that was written a long time ago. From running settlement processor. Settlement activation. Okay. So actually we can just go like this. Actually it was already set up to do that. Okay, that's good. Do the same thing for this. Oh, I gotta, yeah, that's, we're just putting it in sim. The front of my nose is itchy again, like I walked into a spider web. And that's really annoying because I did not walk into a spider web as far as I know. There have been rare occasions where I'll see one dangling right in front of my face right here. Okay, so we got that. We are going to need a settlement processor. Yeah, this is Mythruna specific, so we're going to kill this. Let me look at the trigger processor. We're not going to be able to steal a whole bunch of this. But I am going to crib. No, actually we're going to need active tiles. We might in fact need all of this, which is a sign I need to refactor and make some things common. So that was written in 2023. It's possible the other was too and just used an old copyright. To boink boink boink. Just replace all those, replace all. Okay. And then do the same thing with this. Like if you find yourself doing this and then you're almost done with your work, that means that there was some common class that you could have factored out, like performs a background process related settlement event generation. Yeah, there's no settlement events. Settlement activation. Active players, the active tiles, and active settlements. That's a good, yep. Okay, so we will need players. We don't technically need an active player count, but it's good to have. The activation radius is going to be different because we want as far away as we can see. The triggers, we only need to be active for things that we might walk into. And I think that triggers can never be bigger than a tile, so probably, yeah, there's probably a lot of this we won't need, or need it differently. Triggers can never be bigger than a tile, I think, and so you only need to load your current tile and the ones around, and a trigger is only in one tile, whereas our settlements can be in multiple tiles. Because I want to make sure that if that 5x5 grid, if the town just comes over the edge of that, even though the town is like mostly in this tile we can't see, but if it just comes over the edge, we still want to activate it. Yeah, so that logic's gonna have to be a lot different, but yeah, so that's, no, I see that turns out not to be true because we'll all need different radiuses and things. So we will have active tiles. We will have tiles that are pending deactivate. And sure, why not have an active tile count? Because that's good for diagnostics. See, that's what we use for here. We will need, yeah, that is example, we will need a multi-map. A tile can have multiple settlements. That is true. I don't know if we will need this index, but it's true we will have that relationship. Keeps a cache of the settlement active entity IDs, so we don't have to look them up. So that used to be trigger active. What was trigger active entities looking? Oh, we don't need that, but we are going to need something similar. Wait, this is... Yeah, because we'll want... a container. What we want probably is not that. Let's cull a bunch of this stuff out. I'm getting too wrapped around trying to save stuff because I do know for sure I want a player container. But let's start there. I don't care about that. Now that all the tiles have been activated or deactivated, finally remove any of this stuff. Yeah, so that's probably true. Let's focus just first on tile activation and deactivation. And so we want to update any active tiles. We don't need to do that every frame, I'm pretty sure. Okay. Yeah, so let's see what active tile is first. Settlement shape. Oh yeah, we don't need any of that. We don't need any of that. Oh yeah, we can delete a lot of this stuff. Settlements don't have shapes, they just are. Holder. Settlement holder will have... Alright, actually... We don't need this, don't need this. Don't need that. That's fine. Get tile, create, we'll create it. Remove tile, remove. Activate tile, or visit neighbors. No, I don't think we need that. I'm just going to remove a whole bunch of this stuff. I don't know what we would need for that. Let's concentrate on just the active tiles and no settlements or anything like that. We'll get tile activation to work first. I may not even need that. So active tile. Let me think about this. We're going to pull... I don't even think we need... active tile. Oh, I see. And that's what the neighbor stuff was for too. Active tiles, tile index. Alright, let's just strip this way back. Players, I'm getting too confused by trying to redo the other stuff. So basically we'll keep track of players for a second. I'm gonna get rid of the diagnostics, we don't need it. Yep, that's good. And so okay, I know why I've been doing all this stuff. But let's just get let's build it up. You guys get more confused by me reusing all this stuff. Nope, we don't want that. So we want that. Oh, good. We'll get to fix the bug here too. Nope, height we don't care about. We don't care about that. Well, I mean, we do eventually. So the player is going to have an entity ID. They're going to have a position, which equates to a current location. And let's get rid of all of this stuff for now. Here's the bug, by the way. So you see I've got this field named loc, and it hides this field named loc. And so when I come here and I say new loc equals loc, new loc is a vec3i, and loc is this vec3d because I'm hiding this. And so, yeah, so this affects the trigger system, it affects the activation system, it affects the thing. Probably this class should be consolidated so I don't have to fix it everywhere. But I'm going to say last loc. I'm going to fix this right now. Oops. And in fact, that is wrong too. And so we only, why do we do this? I guess we're only bothering to update the tile ID when the excuse me, when the location moves not like just a millimeter or whatever, but only when we cross like a meter boundary. So I guess it's not a huge performance improvement, except for that everything moves all the time, so we were always running this code. Of course, this gates us out, so it's not a huge performance deal. So we will want that, and so we're gonna go ahead and put back wait. No, we're going to leave like this. Update tile ID, tile ID. Okay, we're going to check settlements. We don't need to do any of that because that's not real. Potentially we have some cleanup to do here, but we're not doing that yet. Okay, the player container. That is still true. All that still needs to happen. Nothing should be changing. That's correct. Yet player release. We don't need this yet, because I want to show you what we're doing. So we'll just strip this down to just management of which players are visible when, right? And so I'm going to make info versions of these. And I'm going to do this because I wonder if we're being run more than once. Okay, so right now all we're doing is tracking which tile the player is in. And so we'll make sure the system gets configured, which is going to be in game server, which is here. So we want to find, where's the trigger system? There we go. Let's look for you guy. Let's look for you. So we'll do the, excuse me, I just called it the settlement system, didn't I? Yeah. It's really the settlement management system, but that's okay. Excuse me. So when we run, unfortunately we can't test this in the prototype because there's no tiles in the prototype. And that is a problem. 35. Settlement system. Oh, yeah. This is temporarily. Actually, I guess I can leave the diagnostics here, but just return active. Just for now. Okay, let's see if we can run. Look at that. Okay, and so then over here, I'm going to tail -f Mythruna client.log grep settlement processor. So when we play, we can at least see a filtered log. Alright, continue the last world, and we get to watch the little slideshow of cool places. Mountains off in the distance. Alright. Come on. Let's go. Come on. Okay, so if we bring up the map, these are the tiles that I'm talking about. And yes, we don't actually cross 4 tiles, but we do definitely cross 2. And just to make that a little clearer, let's turn on the grid. So those are showing us not tiles, but chunks, if you want to think of it that way. They're not called chunks in Mythruna, but that's what they are. Early in Mythruna's development, it had an identity crisis, and because everybody in the world was comparing it to that other Block World game, with some good reason, right? But I tried very carefully not to reuse names, and at the time, so we just crossed the tile boundary. Yeah, so we see update tile, update tile, update tile. Are we continuing to update tile? No, but we did see that a bajillion times. Why did we see it a bajillion times? That doesn't make any sense. So this particular border is the, let me turn the lights on. I really need to make a streaming mode that just keeps it daytime, unless I say otherwise. Yeah, so that put us in a particular tile a bunch of times. Now what happens if I cross again? So that put us in a different tile, but it also did call us a bunch of times. I can't actually, like in a regular Linux terminal, I could hit enter and create a bunch of blanks, but I can't do that here. Let me see if it's, I'm looking at, what I'm going to look at is the time here in this log, and if as I move around it's changing. Yeah, so it's basically updating that tile every time I move, and it doesn't, probably I put the log in the wrong place, but let's see. I either put the log in the wrong place or some check is not working correctly. Nope. So tile ID is not. Oh, I never. So. Okay, so that's why. So I mean, it's all working. We can see it, but the reason it changes every time I move is because I wasn't keeping track of the last tile. So this is working. Now what we want to happen is every time we enter or exit a tile, we want to take, so every time we change tiles, we want to make sure whatever tiles we used to have are removed, like the 5x5 grid that's centered around the old tile. We want to remove that, and we want to make sure to add the new 5x5 tile. And you can say, well, there's some efficiency to be gained if we only moved one tile. Why are we getting rid of all of them? Because we could have warped across the world and we have all new tiles. So it's just easier logic to keep track of the set of active tiles and the set of set of active tiles, right? Equals new hash set. All right, and so what we want to do is we want to, when the tile changes, new tiles. Oops, new tiles. So I guess we can do a little bit here. Because I could just remove all of them. So we could simplify this. So we've got like a, here we should have tile ID, active tiles, new hash set. Okay, so this is all of the currently active tiles. All of the currently active tiles. Reset filter. So every time we update this, we're going to want to set reset filter to true, because eventually, so next thing we're going to have is a container that's not watching players, but watching the tiles themselves for settlements that are in those. Okay, so we're going to need to know what the current active tiles are. So we're going to have a method deactivate tiles, set tile ID tiles, active tiles, remove all tiles, reset filter equals true, true spelled the correct way, and we'll have an activate as well, and so this will add them all. Add it up, you gotta add it up. And so at the beginning, we want to activate tiles, all of our current, deactivate tiles, all of the current tiles we have. And then I think there's a way to get the neighbors from a tile ID. Visit neighbors. Yep. So we're going to visit those neighbors. Oops. Ah. Click the correct thing. So visit neighbors, tile ID, visit neighbors, and then the lambda looks like, so we give it the radius and a neighbor, and in this case, do we call it activation radius? We did. And so figure out the new active tiles from our latest location. And so this is easy. All we have to do is say active tiles, add neighbor. Won't you be my neighbor? And then we say activate tiles, active tiles. Okay? So from this we'll have always the current set of active tiles. When a player exits, we need to deactivate all of his tiles. I'm going to kill this so that I can restart it with fresh stuff. Okay. And so in here, we can say if reset filter equals false, log info need to set filter for active tiles. Okay. And so let's just confirm that that works. It pays to be sure. I did something wrong. Here. That needs to parenthesis. Active tiles. Okay, wait. I need to fix all of these stupid warnings because they get in the way. Active tile, activate 94. Yeah. And I'm probably going to want to change this to something that doesn't hide that other field and is a little clear about what it is. That prevents me from doing dumb things later. Oops, like this. Okay, so it's very important to have a solid foundation for these kinds of cases because they're super important to get right. Okay. Come on. Come on. He's standing on a moon gate. Or she. Okay, player enters the game. We should see some logging over here. When we enter the world. I think it remembers the grid setting too, so hopefully I won't have to turn that back on. Oh, apparently it doesn't remember the grid setting. So let's turn that back on. Boink. I probably did that for a good reason, and so this I think is the direction we want to go. Yep, always start facing south. Okay, so we should have gotten activation already. The fact that we didn't is a problem. Like, the player exists, it should have activated before we cross a boundary. But let's see what happens when we cross a boundary. Nope. Things went from working to busted. Oh no, because I'm not... Nah, I didn't do the capital F. There we go. Let's try again. Yeah, so it is working. The issue was that it was still looking at the quote-unquote old log that didn't exist anymore, because I was tailing wrong. So yep, so now we need to set the filter up for the new container, which is going to keep track of the triggers, and we'll have active triggers as well. Okay, so I can probably go ahead and take these out. They're working. I want to... Let's grep settlement processor through the client. I just want to be sure that, yeah, we only get the one update. Okay. Okay. So as long as the object type doesn't change, I don't even need that. Oh, I see. Yeah, because that's the only way to tell if we're a player. There's no... Yeah, that's another problem. There's no component that signifies players. So you have to check their scripted object type, their class, so to speak. Alright, so the next thing we're going to want to do is have... I don't think there's a filter already over here. I think we would have seen it. Set filter, trigger info, tile filter. Yeah, so it's just looking at one at a time. That's not what we want. We want a whole bunch of them. So there is somewhere I can steal this. It's probably on the client. If we have the... But it's probably in the world stuff. World marker state probably does it. Displays block markers, area highlights, and so on. I have no idea what this is used for. Oh, I guess when we're hovering over parts of the world. Well, what I want is the code to make a filter. Something related to maps. Anyway, if I can't find it, I'll just make my own, but I think it might be in here. Map marker state, update filters. Yeah, we don't need all that. Alright. I'm just going to do it. Write it from scratch. Component filter what do we call it? Trigger info. Not trigger. Settlement tile. What do we call this? Tile filter. Settlement tile filter. Why not? Alright. And so in here we will reset the filter. And what we will do is we'll take this and put it down here just to be sure that we always, whenever we reset the filter, we always reset the filter invalidation. And then here we'll have I think I can just put an array. Yeah, can be even general. Yeah, because the array, in Java, arrays are weird with respect to, well, generics are weird with respect to arrays, is what it is. Filters equals new component filter active tiles dot size, and then for int index equals 0 for, what do we want? Tile ID, tile active tiles. Then the specific filter is settlement tile filter tile. Right? Don't you guys know? Tile filter, correct. So let's just cut and paste this to be sure we got it all right. Yep. In fact, what we can say is filters.index plus plus equals that. And then at the end, we all wrap that up in a big OR filter, which looks like this. So we say settlement tile filter, oops, this dot settlement tile filter equals filters or settlement tile blah blah, and then we need a container. Tile container settlement tiles, and so we'll do similar to what we did here. Settlement tile container ed. We haven't written this class yet, so if you don't know what I'm talking about, that's why. And then for if settlement tiles update, we can do something if we want. Otherwise, settlement tile, oops, settlement tiles stop. Settlement tiles equals null. Okay, so now we're managing a container we don't have yet. We're gonna write it down here. Private class settlement tile container extends entity container. Oops. and we'll just use the same object. We'll use the component as the object because that's all we're going to be caring about. Okay. I swear I ate plenty today, but man, I'm hungry. I don't know if it's just talking all the time here. Settlement tile.class. And then we'll want to set a filter. That's the other thing. If active tiles is empty, then we want to make sure to set a filter that can never be true. We want to, like, there's no always false filter, unfortunately, so we create an and filter. Create an and filter for settlement tile that is new tile ID 0 and new tile ID 1. So basically we're creating a filter that can never be true because we want the tile ID to be this and this at the same time, and it can't. And that means that if we go here and on start say reset filter to make sure that we have an empty filter, and then down in here we can say set filter, what do I call it, settlement tile filter, right? I didn't confuse myself, but then I confused myself. Okay, and so then this container, which is a SIO2 class, needs some specific things. So as we create as entities enter and leave this set, it will call add object and remove object. And if for some reason, entity settlement tile. If for some reason the this is just void. And if for some reason that component changes at runtime, it'll call update, which really shouldn't happen in this case, and that's the same thing I did for the other. I just like ignored it. We'll go ahead and keep our, we like the traces, although we won't be able to distinguish them from the other. We're going to fix that in a second. I like trace logging or debug logging. Oh, some of these are debug, some of them are trace. That's probably okay. What was I going to do? Oh yeah. Since I don't have like individual logs for these different classes, but I would like to know the difference between this and the player container. So we'll do this, and I'll just be consistent, and I'll do it with these two. Yes, I could have just given these each their own loggers, but alright, so in here we just want to return get settlement tile. For now we're not doing any other management. We will, but for now we're not. We're going to want a little, we're going to want a class that has its own viewer. Actually, probably we don't need that. But actually what we want here, the typical pattern I use is to recall update here, so that if I did want to do any setup, I don't have to do it twice, right? So if there is any setup to do, we can do it here rather than in an add and update. And so what we want to have here is we want to have set entity ID active settlement IDs. New hash set. Of course, we don't have any settlements, so we're not going to be able to see this. But if we did, we could, in here, if add settlement tile get settlement ID, then we'd log info new active settlement. Okay, so we could do some logic here, or we could put that up in a method up higher, and then the same thing here. We're going to want to remove it. And I think I'll add to my little test script that will make a settlement out of that town. So that we have something to see. So that should manage the active settlements. We're not doing anything with them. That'll be the next step, but let's make sure that we're actually doing some stuff. But let me save that. Minimize. Minimize. Okay. So what do we want to do? We want to come over here to AI prototype.groovy. If true, this is where we're going to set up the town, but I'll go ahead and start the game first, and then we can edit that live. All right. Excuse me. That was on line 68. Capital T. Where else did I do that typo? Apparently just there. Blah, 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 blah. Uh-oh. Oh, yeah. I knew I wanted to type a return there, but I'm like, why am I returning? Oh, because I need to return a value. Yeah, for whatever reason, when I look over here, it's always my my webcam up here, like, it's always jerky. And it really shouldn't be taxed by anything. Alright, let's move up here. I think we'll just, that'll be good enough. Okay. We'll go ahead and set this up again, so we can see our little logs coming back down there that we removed most of. But a little bit is when I create the settlement, we'll be able to see. Alright, let's join Play the World. We are a player. Yep, so actually we saw our update tile ID, we saw the new filter. And now we will make a town. And we will make it daytime. Okay, so it's daytime. We will come over here, not here. Here, there is, let's see, how do I find, I could find all of the towns, but let's find our current one. But I can't do that. Oh, I could make a command. So actually we can just do this. If resets the current town's settlement info. Reset settlement. I'm gonna really get tired of typing that, and then I'll go and I'll talk to Google about. You know, I really want a different name for this because it doesn't fit all the things, and it'll give me a much nicer name, or we'll figure it out together, and probably it'll be just as hard to type. For loc, and so then we can find the poi that we're in. Town. So if we don't find it, echo not found. Turn. Echo. Creating settlement for town poi. Name. Okay, so let's see. Does that compile? Yeah, this does a lot more work than it used to. And so we want to say, let's say help. Make sure this is really there. Reset settlement. Yep, it's right here. Reset settlement. Yep. Okay. Uh-oh. Ambiguous method overloading for cyclicality from world. Oh. Okay, what was the actual exception then? Title ID. World APIs 29. What did I screw up? It should have been fine. Find current poi. Oh. Loc. There is no location. What was it pulling from? It was passing a null. So, the Mythruna scripts are really flexible in that they don't complain about missing variables and things, and that actually gets me a lot of times. Oh yeah. I'm actually getting a yeah. So these are all necessary parts of the process. Actually, I don't need all that information. It's just I prefer to have some debugging. So we're going to create a settlement for Blunsdown Creek. We're going to log info town poi, which will help me remember what the fields are called that tell me what size it is, if they have a size. And so then we run the script again. Town poi, point of interest, type, location, radius. That doesn't help me. So we want to get the trigger info. Def trigger equals town trigger info log info trigger. I think that works. Okay, once it's done, we can go blink. The trigger does not have a size. It has a approach distance. So it is a radius based thing. That's kind of dumb. Approach distance. Yeah, that's kind of unfortunate. Radius 88, but then our approach distance, yeah, so that's fine. Okay. So what we'll do is vec3 no, we'll just say def town poi def min equals town poi dot location, subtract trigger dot radius comma 0 comma trigger dot radius, and max equals location dot add log info min max. So we're getting the bounding box of this little area, assuming it runs. Let's see, nope. Trigger info, what? No, so it's property radius. Okay, what is it called then? Oh, approach distance. So we will say double radius equals. Actually, we can say town radius, I think. Is that what it's called? Town type of blah 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 radius is good enough. I think that's correct. Okay, let's try it again. Come on, come on, come on. Why you do this to me? Oh. Errant period, that's why. Cannot cast object, no, blah, blah, blah. Rut-row. Double. 959. Town doesn't have a radius. Town radius. Oh, town poi. There we go. I get really stupid when I'm on the live stream, especially towards the end. Alright, now we get somewhere. We need to say to vec3d. Uh-oh. Try again. Boink. Hey, look at that. I say min and max. So we got a min that is definitely different than the max. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Hopefully the live stream is still going, but I just had my NVIDIA display container crash on the computer that's doing the that's managing the live stream. Let me see if it's still going. It seems to be still going. Yep. Okay, cool. Well, I'll just continue on. With the big old error pop up on the other screen. Neat. Okay, so what I needed to do for this was I needed to be able to figure out the sort of the tile IDs for the min and the max. Yeah. Thanks. So if we go, I think if we do something dumb like x is less than or equal to max.x. Do I need to do less than or equal to x plus equals 1024? This is kind of kludgy, but again, this is not real code. I don't need to be too concerned. Okay. No, this isn't going to work either because it's not based on the tiles. So I need to have min tile equals tile ID from world min max tile equals tile ID max. And so this one I could do that, or I could do something else, but x equals, well, I'll tell you what, we know that in this particular case this is not real code. We know we are not dealing with a town that crosses 4 tiles. So if min tile equals max tile, else. So what we want to do is we want to create a settlement equals ed create entity entity, and we're going to actually, I think it's just regular parentheses here. We'll say settlement type create new child of town, settlement type create town, entity data. We're going to want to see if there already is one. Well, we'll worry about that in a second. So we create the settlement, and then if there's a min tile, we would normally find ed create entity. This is going to be we don't need that. Settlement tile. It is just the tile ID. So oh no, it's the settlement and the min tile. Oh, not that. And then down here, we want to do two of these. I want to make one for max and one for min. Okay, so this should be what I need, and then there's no cleanup, unfortunately, so we'll have to worry about that. But we can only run it once. Oh, create entity on null object. Can I create entity? Okay, probably. Don't need this. I hope. Okay, let's try it again. Alright. We created one. We did not see things over here, though. Alright then, and the thing is, for the time being, we're going to want to delete these every time. Find entities, null, comma, settlement, type. So entity data, remove entity IT. We'll do the same thing for tile. Okay, let's see if it removes anything. Okay, it did make entities. Let me make sure this is even functioning. Okay. Let's run the command again. So we recreated it. Why are we getting... Oh, it's... so this is what I was talking about. We're getting a bunch of leaf edits because it's... it just processed the moon gates. I think if we cross over this boundary again... Yeah, so something is wrong with the tile filters. And we can check that. Let's look at what we're using as the tile filter. Actually, we can see what tiles we're filtering on. So what I could do is, as I remove these, log info ref IT settlement tile. Okay, so we'll see what we're actually removing. Removing tile ID, because it could be our tile ID is wrong. Let's see if those in one of our. So we'll real quickly make that. So that's the tile ID that we are adding in one case. We should have been adding two. Oh yeah, we did. Yep, and I think these are the two we're looking for. Oh, yeah, 6 and 15 and 16, right? And then if we look over here, take this over here and search for one of these. Yep, it's definitely in the filter. But why isn't it finding it? Let's see about copying this logic. We could also... Oh. We never set the filter. So that would be why. We, yeah, we set it to the first time, but we don't actually set it again when we actually reset it. So we need to tell the settlement tile container to set filter. Settlement filter. And let's see if that's a public enough method to do that. Nope, I called it something else, didn't I? Yep, settlement tiles. Okay. Yep, protected so that I need to override it. Not there. Void set filter, component filter, filter, super set filter, filter, whoop, filter. Let's try again. Continue last world. I get spoiled by the prototypes because they just start up so much faster. Okay, so we got the filter set, but we don't have a town because we deleted it. Okay, it is nighttime again, so we will have to... Oops. Okay, so we will, what's it called again? Reset settlement, yeah. Reset settlement, not. Ah, we saw it. New active settlement, bajoink. And even if we cross back over whatever boundary, right? We'll see new filters come through, but the active settlement won't change because it's still the same one, right? So that's working. Okay, now we're not doing anything with it. That's another problem. Okay, so we're creating one, and it is accurate, which means I can come in here and stop removing it every time. Okay. Now we need to do Java work again. I think, random aside, I think for the map, I may make it zoom in a little more, and when you get to a certain point, it would delete this. It would stop showing this sphere and maybe show the town outline or something, or at least hollow this out, because we can't see anything under here. If we had specific markers for specific buildings, we can't see them. I wonder what this square is over here. Let's enable the markers cheat for a second. Okay, so that is a large farm. So that's probably a farm that's a couple tiles wide, maybe not a couple tiles, a couple chunks wide. Anyway, neither here nor there. Now we can do the next part of our thing, which is start thinking about what do we do when we activate a settlement. We are going to so first of all, we're going to say activate settlement. We're going to need to do more than this, because if we had more than one player, they would like when one player left an area, it would deactivate it even if another player was standing there. Activate settlement. Entity ID settlement. So we're going to need to do more than that. So we're going to steal this. We're going to call it deactivate settlement. Yeah, this is the kind of coding that I find that the IDE really hates, because it's constantly trying to correct what I'm writing. And like over the years, I've honed like a specific way of like cheating with cut and paste. Oh yeah, deactivate settlement. Yeah, so activate. Okay, so what we really want here is like a settlement holder. That's going to have the entity ID of the settlement. We can have the settlement type should not change. And so we should be able to okay, and so then void acquire, void release, and so then we can have a use count. And if use count, oops. Oh yeah, so we're going to change all this around. Use count less than or equal to 0. Then this is when we deactivate the settlement. Deactivate settlement. Settlement ID. And if use count equals 1. Actually, we can say, yeah, that's fine. We only want to do it on the first one. Oops. Oh. So we're going to activate it. It doesn't hurt to do this gating, but now it's an error if we do it more than once. So it's not a bad idea. Actually, warn reactivating already activated settlement. So this is just like a double check of the logic. Deactivating already deactivated settlement. And then instead of so then we want to protected settlement holder get settlement entity ID settlement. We'll call it settlement holder. Settlement ID boolean create, and then we're gonna have a map up here. Private map entity ID settlement holder settlement index equals new hash map. Boink, 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 boink. Okay, so then we say settlement holder result equals dot get settlement ID if result equals null and create. Uh-oh. Chat disconnected. Successfully connected. Oh. Hopefully you guys can still chat. Let me check. Actually, I can't. I think I can chat from here, right? Testing. Test. Yep. Okay. Chat's still working. Apparently, we had an internet blip or something. Okay. So we've got our watchdogs in, and here we want to say results. Equals new settlement holder settlement ID settlement index put settlement. I'm getting really tired of typing settlement. Return results. And so then in here, instead of what we were doing, we would say get settlement holder settlement tile dot get settlement ID comma true dot acquire, and then down here we would say settle holder equals get settlement holder. Now we don't want to create it if it didn't exist, and then we can say if holder equals null log warn missing settlement for deactivated ID. Return otherwise holder dot release. Okay, so now we're managing this, access count. So multiple players could be running around, and we'll only activate and deactivate the ones that are necessary. This is also where we could update. This is where, in this activate, is where we could load the type. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and set type equals ad get component. Yes. Settle ID. I could just change this to entity ID and save myself some time. I've gotten pretty good at typing entity over the years. Okay, so component settlement type.class. This type name equals type equals null. Oops. Null. Otherwise, ed get. No, we want to say type get. What did I call it? Type string. Come on, type name probably. Type name. Yep. Okay. Get type name. Ed. Okay. And so we could log info activating type name. Let's go ahead and, for debugging purposes, let's pass it in. Actually, let's pass the whole holder in. What am I thinking? Yeah, in fact, all this is garbage anyway. I was I left some old references around. I wasn't going to compile. So we can call this holder, and we can call this holder entity ID. Log need to load config for holder.type. Okay. Let's see if it runs. I don't think so. Cannot find. Yeah, entity. As you know, when I said earlier that I'm pretty used to typing entity by now, this is a common thing where I'll move the T to the wrong place. Type too fast. Can't find holder. Because I didn't rename it over here. Okay, that should be all of the compile errors. Yay! So if we can get it even to the point where I could load a config, this is maybe a good place to stop if this works. So so last weekend was a 4-day weekend for me because I took time off. This coming weekend is also a 4-day weekend for me, but I plan to try to knock out a Mythruna release. I don't know if I will, but that's the goal. All 4 days dedicated to Mythruna development, minus my other normal weekend responsibilities. I mean, ultimately it depends on whether I finish my work, my day job work. But I should wrap that up on Monday, the stuff that's got to be done. Okay, so need to load config for settlement type 17. Oh, poop. Well, that's probably right. Apparently we are back in the... We spend a lot of time in the middle of the night here. Let's pause. Okay, so we shouldn't see any loading of configs. Boy. Yeah, so we see the tile update, but we only saw the need to load config once. And if we if I were to walk, so the problem is to test this, if I were to travel, I could respawn. That should take us far enough away to deactivate this town. So let's try that. Respawn. Boink. Uh-oh. It didn't deactivate those old tiles. It just added them in. So something is not... I think I'm right on another tile boundary. Yeah, so there's the town we were at, way over there. We're in a new town now. Yeah, so we're at this, even the spawn tower is right on a border. This world's messed up, man. As far as performance goes. Yeah, so it just added those right on in. It never saw the removal of the old ones. I wonder if I left... So it definitely did update the tile ID, deactivate tiles, player tiles. Why did it not deactivate all those tiles? Did I leave? Nope, remove all, reset filter. That's messed up. Alright, so this gives us something to debug for the next 10 minutes. Yeah, and the I've seen this happen before, especially at a tile boundary. The portal stuff. Yeah, see, I have to like have crossed a tile before it across a leaf. What my Minecraft would call a chunk. Okay, so let me log some things real quick. Update tile ID. Log new player. Get ID. Just to see new player. Deactivate tiles. Let's log what we're deactivating. Log adding all tiles. Removing all tiles. Let me just double check the logic here. Player, we have player tiles. Oh, I'm an idiot. We didn't clear it before we added the new ones. So right before we visit, we needed to clear it. Okay, so now it should work. I am going to actually... I'm so confident that it's going to work. I'm going to remove these logs, and not only that, I'm going to remove these so that we can just see the specific activation, deactivation of the town. And I'll show you another bug that's still left in. That there's a memory leak. There's a memory leak that I shall show you. Hey, Kaylee. Okay. Play the game. But the memory leak is because even though we deactivate a particular town, we never remove it from the index, so it would still be hanging out. We deactivate the ID but never remove it from the map. Okay, so we should have seen new player, yep, update tile. We didn't see any towns activate. But now, if I go and look at my marks, I should still have a mark for, so if we warp to Blunsdown Creek, it should take me over to there. And so there we saw down in the log here, we saw we updated the tile, we activated the settlement, and so we need to load the config for that particular town. 17 must be the word town. And so we're here, and yep, the portal vision worked correctly. Moon in the sky. And so we're in the town, but now if we leave, we'll see it deactivate, but we won't see, like we should see the deactivation. Yep, so we deactivated the settlement, but nothing removes it from the map. So if we were to go back now, boink, we wouldn't see it reactivate, I think. Oh no, we would see it reactivate, but it's just a memory leak. We actually won't see any logs for this. If we warp pound bluns, actually if I just say warp, right, we get the, I forgot there's a a convenient way to do that. Okay, so we saw, oh, it did load the config again. Maybe we do clean it up. Oh, no, what it is when the holder is created is when we would need to load the config. Not on acquire necessarily. The settlement can be activated and deactivated many times. No, only once. So yeah, we could load it here, but in deactivation we should be also removing it so that we make a new one. So like if I had logged info new settlement holder here, we would have seen that we never saw but one of these. And so what we need to do in here is, oh, yes, we need to settlement index remove holder.entity ID. Log info removing holder for link. So anyway, that's fine, but it's working basically, and now I'm hooked up that if I made a registry where I could load a config, there's more to it than this because the actual settlement system itself needs to update the schedules of the settlement. So let me go to, I was trying to relearn how all this worked before. Here. So I need to have this settlement interface that every frame gets updated with the current time info, you know, has activate, deactivate and stuff. But the actual implementation of this would be up to, you know, Groovy scripts or whatever factory registry there is, because a bandit camp settlement is a lot easier to manage than a town settlement, etc. And the town settlement, you know, would have to load information about the buildings and potentially initialize all the NPCs and etc. 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 So yeah, so there's some work to do there, and which thread to run it on, whether the background thread or the current thread, etc. 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 Happy Saturday evening, Chuck. Just in time to close the stream down. So anyway, that's the I think that's it for the live stream. Where's up? Let's get a real cool view before we go. Reminder of how far we can see. Yeah, the spawn tower is up on that mountain way over there. Way over here. And apparently I made a city over there. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. You know, like, comment, subscribe, etc. What is the view distance? About 8 kilometers. So you can actually see everything that's on the map. Basically, you can see it's like 7.5, 8 kilometers. You can see as far as the edge of the map. So when we're looking in this direction, we can see all of those cliffs. If I go up high enough, those mesas over there, those are all this stuff on the map over here. And this mountain up here is this mountain over here. So you can see pretty far. Anyway, good night, everybody. And remember to like, comment, subscribe. Oh, here we go. There we go. I hope you all have a productive week if you're working on anything creative. Hopefully you wish that back for me in return so that we can get this release done. Thanks for joining me, and I will see you guys next time. Thanks a lot.